A big topic of conversation right now inside of the wrestling world is Kurt Angle. People always trying to figure out if Angle is going to be able to make that jump in order to come back to WWE one more time, whether if it's just to be a part of the WWE universe, doing things behind the scenes, whether if that's working out at the Performance Center and trying to help the next superstar of tomorrow, or if he can climb into the ring and have that one more WrestleMania match that people have been clamoring for years. It's hard to think about Kurt Angle being a guy that wrestled in TNA longer than he wrestled in WWE, but WWE is where the guy broke in and figured out that he was one of the best wrestlers in the world. TNA basically clipped his wings and let him, free himself of basically any restrictions that WWE would have put on him. And, he really became, one of the best. And when he made the jump from WWE to TNA, the matches that him and Samoa Joe were having really was pushing the edge of as close in the race of TNA versus WWE that we ever really saw it. I mean, there was a point when I honestly thought that, there was three rosters. There was the Raw roster, the SmackDown roster, and the TNA roster. I thought that honestly TNA had a better roster than Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. If WWE was to combine the shows and put the rosters all together, there was no doubt in the world they would smash TNA. Because at the time they had the brand split, I thought that the TNA really had a chance of moving in and trying to get close to there. Of course, once the Joe versus Angle that ran a little bit too long was over, the TNA really didn't have a backup plan for which way these guys were going to split off and go in their own separate directions and carry on feuds that keep people interested in the product. And people started to weigh off and it started to lose popularity. And we've seen TNA try to make jumps to try to get back to that place, but they never ever really got close to where they were when Kurt Angle first made the jump over there. That was one of the biggest moves that they ever made in the wrestling business to put them on the map as being a real promotion that had a chance to take over as number one. Now Kurt Angle's contract is going to be coming up with TNA. There's people who think the contract is already up. There's some people who think that it's up at the end of the month. One thing leads to another. Kurt Angle is going to be wrestling his last match against Bobby Lashley for the company in TNA, which is sort of being pushed in TNA as his retirement deal. Now, TNA is making a last-ditch effort to try and save Kurt Angle from leaving the company. They are offering him a deal on the table right now where he would basically be an ambassador to TNA over the next year, where he would basically get money for not doing a ton. By doing this, basically, Angle would work with the younger talent and try and give them advice and try to get them to be able to improve. I'm sure they would still like to bring him to big shows, whether if that's like a Slammiversary or a Bound for Glory, if they're doing like a whole weekend ordeal where he would honestly be like the main event of the autograph signings, and people would be excited that they got to meet Kurt Angle. That'd be one thing to put an exclamation point on going on to those shows. Maybe they can talk Kurt Angle to doing some sort of television where he would be like the general manager of the show, much like he did on SmackDown, and had a good role during his injury there, where Vince didn't want to get him off the television because of how hot the character was. I really see this as an effort of TNA trying to make sure that they can keep in Kurt Angle's pocket, and Angle doesn't make the jump to go to WWE. We've seen all of the big names from TNA. They're going to be getting AJ Styles soon. Hulk Hogan made the jump once his contract was done. Sting is now a year into his run with the company after leaving TNA. And Samoa Joe is wrestling for NXT. It's like they're losing all of their names. Plus, there's a rumor out there that Austin Aries is going to be making the jump, signing with NXT soon, and be a part of that. They were able to get James Storm back from NXT, but I love James Storm, but that's not a real big game-changing thing for the company. I think that he's a good character that I like to watch, but I don't think that James Storm is somebody that makes people change the channel to go see Pop TV, even though that I love the guy. I don't know. Honestly, when I think about when Sting's deal ended, which was around the Royal Rumble of WrestleMania 30, so many people thought that right off the bat he was going to sign with WWE and he would be a part of WrestleMania 30 weekend. And we honestly had to wait almost 6 months to a year. Well, he came and did the thing for WWE's Comic-Con. He did a couple of things off the record for them. But according to the Sting documentary, he never even signed a contract until the week before the Royal Rumble. So he did the Survivor Series thing sort of as a one-time deal. He got paid for it, but he wasn't under contract. But, at the same time, he was setting up deals with the video game. He was setting up deals with Mattel. He had a WWE merchandising deal. He just didn't have a real WWE contract. So if I'm Kurt Angle, I know that, money coming in, such as the TNA contract, for not doing a lot to being the ambassador. If you want that WrestleMania moment, if you want to be part of the WWE universe again, I think you got to sort of eat crow right now. You got to, let that TNA deal end. Go do your Bellator stuff that you're signed to do. If you're going to fight for Bellator, go fight for Bellator. And once that's over, I think the TNA stink will be weared off of you. And if WWE wants you, that's when you jump on it. I think that honestly, this TNA deal is going to be on the table for a long time. They want you to be a part of the company. You just have to figure out if WWE wants you. And with that, you're going to have to play the waiting game a little bit.